And welcome in to the Wheelhouse here, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Finally back on this Sunday morning. Joining me, special guest host this morning. You know him from Undrafted, Uncensored, the old, the new, Colin Zanker.
The prophet is back, as they call it. We have our victory formation segment where we do our pick'em. And I got to tell you, Michael, I'm on a heater, man. I have been nailing some of my picks recently.
See, there you go. There you go. And by the old, I meant me. Because yesterday I turned 27. So there you go. Add 10 more years to that, by the way.
I'm going to say, yes, congratulations. I will be turning a few more than that in about 8 days. Next
8
Monday,
days.
the 30th.
So there you go. Yeah,
the big 40 is hitting.
Yeah. That's doing anything special for that one?
Hopefully not getting injured playing baseball.
Yeah, that's what we all hope for nowadays.
Yeah, I'm probably going to try and recover from my baseball game Sunday and broadcast some Monday Night Football, but nothing big.
There you go.
Unless someone has a surprise. I mean, if there's a surprise somewhere that I don't know about, they've done a good job of hiding it.
There you go. We have a lot to get into today. We'll go over some of the slate of NFL games. We'll also dive into the WNBA playoffs that are starting today. And there is one team in baseball that has just totally crapped the bed, Colin. And I don't know where you go from here. They're about to match the MLB record for losses in a season that has been held for, speaking of 40-plus years, it has been a very long time since a team has reached this number of losses. So we'll get into that as well. But and then more just NFL news galore today. So, and of course, a Hail Mary once again saves the CU Buffs. So we'll get into all of that when what we like to call Fire and Ice. If you're new to the program, kind of a who's hot, who's not over the last week or so of sports. So we're going to dive right into that right now.
It's now time for Fire.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
He's on fire.
I'm only one of burning desire. Let me stand next to your fire.
And Ice.
Ice Cube, baby.
You're as cold as ice.
Ice, ice, baby.
All right, Colin, since you are the special guest host, which list, if you will, would you like to start with?
I mean, let's start with the ice because I think the fire is going to be a lot more fun for us to stick around and hang around with.
All right, why don't you
and
kick
we
it off?
already teased it. Well, all right. So ice. The first thing I got to say with ice is, man, I don't know if you've seen these, but the new leak for the Nuggets uniforms and their in-season tournament ones.
Yeah.
I'm over it, man. I don't know what is going on with uniform designs these days, but I think they have just becoming hot garbage. Much like the Broncos' new uniforms, I'm sure they might grow on some people. I just want some of the classics back, and I think these are, not ice cold in a good way. I just think they are bad, too plain, too generic. There's nothing special about them. And I'm really worried about the Colorado Rockies' new uniforms for their City Connect jerseys next year. Not that I thought that the ones this year for the Rockies were more elevated softball jerseys more than baseball uniforms, especially when it was the green on green. They changed that. But what I will say is that I think the Nuggets ones, they missed the mark again.
Yeah, and yeah, they're going to be interesting. And I think if you follow the Nuggets on social media, they must have heard like the leaks and the rumors, because their post was of like the bottom, kind of where the size tag is, and it said the rumors are true, and it was so they must have known that it got leaked, obviously. So their social media post was the rumors are true, and it had a very small snippet of the jersey, but it was the same jersey that was leaked. A couple weeks or a couple days before they had posted that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it has really nothing to do with. I don't know where they're gonna say this links to, because usually like the City Edition jerseys, Colin, are kind of like supposed to like relate back to the franchise's past or something to do with the city they play in. This, I don't know what they can link this to.
Yeah, I believe they have the 5280 on it again, of course, and the skyline is more the mountains than the skyline on the side in the retro colors. Maybe when they come out and I see them, they're good, but there's just been an issue of jerseys going on for years, and even the Fanatics NHL ones that are ripping in half. One day into camp, they're falling off of guys as they're skating. It's just. There's no quality in it anymore. Get off my lawn. I don't really know what to say, but I feel like there's no originality in any of these things, and some of them are okay, but as far as the ones locally, just very disappointed. The only ones to really nail it out of the park are the Broncos with the old school and the white helmet. Like that was solid. The snow-capped white with the D on it.
Yeah. And they're also bringing back the Orange Crush uniforms this year as well, so that'll be cool. But yeah, I'm trying to load this picture of the Nuggets uniform. But to your statement about the Broncos uniforms this year, I didn't mind the change. They were kind of due for a change. The last time when they changed to the style they just changed from was 1997, and they're not winning back-to-back Super Bowls. All right, let's just get that down first. They're not winning back-to-back Super Bowls, but I do like the Navy ones. I think the Navy ones are sharp. The orange, whatever, the white, whatever. But I do like I'm a fan of the Navy ones of the new uniform. So those don't bother me as much as some of the other ones. So that's what I will say on.
I was gonna say that's fair with the Navy. I think the thing is, they look like an Arena Football League uniform or an XFL uniform, and you have a lightning bolt on the side. All right, like we are not the Chargers here in Denver; it's the Broncos, and whatever you want to say it's supposed to be, it still looks like the Chargers lightning bolt that's on the shoulder pad. All right, so. It's thrown me for a loop. I think they'll just remake them again in a few years. Probably new stadium, new uniforms.
Well, they already jumped the gun on the uniforms if they're going to go that route. But yeah, I mean, a new stadium should definitely be in the cards, because that's just what you do. What has it been now? 25 years? I think it opened in 99, 2000 ish.
Yeah, because no, it was open for the Super Bowl run, right? LA's first run. Wasn't that 98?
No, I don't think they were playing in that, but I don't know.
Because I know the Rockies' first two seasons were at Mile High Stadium, 394. It's got to be close to 25 plus years. Just
somewhere in that arena.
So
yeah, there you go. All right. Starting off with my ice list, Colin, the good old Chicago White Sox are now one loss away from the all-time mark, and it was held by the 62 Mets. The 2024 White Sox, Colin, have 119 losses. Once again, one away from tying the all-time mark of the 1962 New York Metropolitans. And being a fan of this franchise, Colin, first let me throw in this caveat. I've literally watched 2 baseball games all year, and they're the only 2 that I've actually been to all year, and they were not even in the state of Colorado. One was in Phoenix, Arizona, and one literally 2 weeks ago in Chicago at a Cubs game. So those are literally the only 2 baseball games I've watched all year. I don't know what it is this season, Colin. Obviously, you you and Nick both doing the stadium visit, so you've seen probably a good share of baseball this season. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what the turnoff is for me this year. I don't know if it's because I'm obviously boycotting the Rockies. I will not go to a Rockies home game at all. So maybe that's just turned me off to the whole idea. But if you get to 120 losses, Colin, that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
It is impressive, and the way that your White Sox are doing it is also pretty impressive. They have, they have blown some games that they definitely shouldn't have, and some of the idiotic plays that have been made. Just I don't know what is going on with with that team. A team that 3-4 years ago was playoff contention, World Series contender. It doesn't seem that long ago that they seemed like they had a good core, and now it's nothing. So the fall from grace can happen quickly. It's just they've the fly balls, the miscommunication, the misplays. I still see. I can't remember who the shortstop is, but just missing like 3 straight easy plays, like Olay every single time. It's like, oh well, that's what happens. And it's funny that your White Sox they beat my Rockies in 2 out of 3 games this year, who are not as bad, but probably could be on that level if they didn't get some special competition, I guess sometimes. But it's to see something that bad. We're witnessing history in 2 separate ways, and even 3 with Ellie De La Cruz and Shohei Ohtani. So we're seeing some great history with those 2, and then we're seeing. Well, we're seeing the White Sox.
Different ends of the spectrum when it comes to history. Plus, the season that Aaron Judge is putting together is pretty incredible as well. And going back to your ice list really quick, here is a leaked photo. Don't know if this is the exact photo, but here is the front of the Nuggets uniform, and of course the back. What it's supposed to look like, and that is pretty terrible.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I don't get it. I like some of the white jerseys. I really like the white City Connects or special editions they had like 4 years ago before they went with the red and the black ones and the skyline on them. These just don't do it for me, man.
No. By the way, the New York Mets 1962 season, they went 40 and 120. So the White Sox can not only tie that record but break it, as there's still a couple weeks left in the season, and that's when they played 2 less games back in the 60s, Colin. They only played 160 games. So White Sox have a chance to not only tie a record but break it exponentially. So
yeah, there's 7 to 8 games or 6 to 8 games left for each team right now.
So there you go. All right, Colin, what's next on your ice list?
Next on the ice list, would have to be the guys that are in the ice tubs in the NFL, the guys that are in the training room, all the NFL injuries that are going on. I just when you sit here and you look at what's happening in these first 4 weeks, the NFLPA has really screwed up what is going on in training camp and getting these guys ready for a season, because obviously teams aren't ready to play football at the start of the season. So my ice list is full of guys that are in ice baths right now recovering. What do we have today? George Kittle is out. I believe it sounds like Taysom Hill is out. Justin Herbert might not be playing. Back to the Easton Stick experiment in Los Angeles. Almost said San Diego. This is not a good look in the Broncos game. You have 2 defensive linemen, Vita Vea, and I'm blanking on the other guy who's out for the Buccaneers, but there are just so many guys that are injured already. And even on the Broncos side, McGlinchey's out. We had injuries to Garrett Bowles last week. And I think Quinn Miners came up hobbled a little bit. There's so many things. Josh Reynolds. It's just these guys aren't ready to play football right away. And
Yeah.
we've seen that at the start of the season.
Apparently not. And not also Kenneth Walker, who had a good game for me last week in fantasy. He's listed still as doubtful, but he'll probably get downgraded to out. And the guy who kind of kicked this all off, obviously, was Tua down in Miami, Colin. And people already calling for him to retire after another bout with concussion. So just a stacking up. Jordan Love is still out for the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people were excited for him to get another full season under his belt. And Christian McCaffrey obviously still out for the 49ers. They're just a whole different team without him. If Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings can beat the 49ers, something's going wrong in San Fran. So these just injuries are just stacking up, and we're not even 3 weeks into the season, Colin. So this is not only bad for fantasy owners, but bad for actual fans of these teams and the teams themselves, because 49ers week one, you were like, well, they're gonna throw the homie in there from what's his name, Mason, the backup for
Jordan Mason. Yeah.
Jordan Mason, the backup for San Francisco, who, by the way, I know you don't care about our fantasy teams. I picked him up last minute week one, Colin, got me 36 points, and probably never will see that number again. But yeah, these injuries are stacking up already. And I think me and Matt touched on this last year, and that was the same things. Just injuries were piling up already 3 weeks into the season. I don't know if you saw the pictures, because like in training camp or practice, whatever, they wear those huge helmets.
Yeah, the Guardian caps.
Yeah, did you see that 2 people were actually wearing them in regular season games?
I know one of the Colts guys is. I don't know who the other person is.
I couldn't tell you either of them or what team they were on. I just saw a quick picture of them both. I don't know what you do. It's 2024, Colin. You think helmets and any concussion number would have gone down by now, but they're changing the rules where you just can't hit really anybody anymore. They're outlawing hip drop tackles. You just really can't do much besides just give these dudes flags at this point.
Well, I think that's one of the issues is, I'm not saying concussions didn't happen or anything like that beforehand, so I don't want this to get twisted. But these guys aren't getting hit, or their bodies aren't getting used to being hit, and you have to build up some of that callus. I started to play baseball again this year, and I hadn't played in a while, and I'm not one of these professional athletes by any stretch, obviously. But what I will say is it took me a while to get back in shape. And even things like this. So this week our games are canceled because of this rain here. But even a week off for me in a game, it hurt. Like, it hurts me to take a week off from playing in the middle of the season, because I get out of shape because I'm not out there training and doing it 24/7. So these guys that are professional athletes playing against other professionals, if they're not practicing day in, day out what they're going to be doing, it's going to hurt them on the field. And it's going to hurt them in more ways than just, head injuries, but it's also the way you protect yourself, the way you take hits. Because I think you have to learn how, to take a hit before you actually, can get up from any sort of injury. Like, you could be injured from a hit and be fine, but the way that you absorb it, it really will affect how you come out of that. And I think these guys just aren't taking those shots anymore. It's hurting them on and off the field. When you mentioned the 49ers, I think we skipped over Deebo Samuel's also out today. Like, they are missing all of these guys, and then the holdouts in camps. I think it just really makes for a football season that doesn't start until week 6.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, obviously the league is always looking to tack on more regular season games. So we might see an 18-game season. And like you mentioned, these guys aren't really practicing in full pads. They're not hitting as much. They limited the number of full pad practices to what, Colin? 1 a week, 2 a week? I mean,
I think they have a total number for during the season.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's one full pad a week. I
Yeah.
was like, I know in the preseason the coaches have the choices of how they want to use their 6 or 7 or 8 padded practices, whatever that number is. But during the season, yeah, they can have one full padded practice all week.
yeah, and that's not helping. That is not helping any of these guys when it comes to, like you said, building that repetition of getting hit, and then you're playing full speed 100% in a regular season game, Colin, where dudes are just flying all over the place. I forget which game it is. I think it was it the Thursday night game that we just saw between the Jets? I don't remember, but the dude they called the defenseless receiver, and I think it was Troy Aikman or whoever the color guy was saying, how is the defender supposed to slow up at that point? Like, how is he supposed to change the way he's going at full speed? Just stuff like that. We're just seeing what's a legal hit, what's not a legal hit, just dating back to 5-10 years ago, Colin. We're like, what's a catch, what's not a catch, what's pass interference, what's not. I mean, we're just going to have all these questions until basically the league figures it out, and I don't know if they ever will, Colin. I don't know if there'll ever be like, and then I think it was week 1 I saw this dude lead with his shoulder. They called it targeting, so I don't know. If the players are lost, Colin, and the fans are lost, because I don't know what to say at this point.
No, it's so true. And you're asking these guys to change their way they're playing. But if you hold up or ease up on a tackle and the guy gets loose and breaks free for a touchdown, guess what? That's your job. You could be on the streets next week, not having a career in the NFL anymore because you blew a play. We've seen guys fumble the ball and not get another chance in the NFL again. We've seen guys have a bad game and not get another shot, get cut the next day. They didn't make the team playing all of a sudden. We've seen guys make mistakes in games and not get shots again. So when you sit here and you say, well, you got to learn how to tackle, you're right. They're going at full speed. What else do you expect them to do? This is how they've been taught. This is how they've been trained. And there's only so much you can do, especially when you're talking about a defenseless receiver. Tell the quarterback to put a better ball out there and not leave him defenseless over the middle. Like, there's a lot of part of that, because when we look back, we were talking about the old Broncos, and it was 2001 the stadium was built. So 23 years as of now, or it opened. But when you look back at Ed McCaffrey, and the reason his career ended was because Brian Greasy decided to throw a crappy ball over the middle and leave Ed McCaffrey out to dry, and he went up to get it. So there's plays that happen in the NFL, and it sucks. And I understand them wanting to try and protect, but you also can't take away from part of the nature of this game. And it is a brutal game. And there should be big hits in this game. It's not like a big hit should just be flagged automatically. When a receiver is ducking his head down, how are you supposed to move away from his head?
Yeah. Or, the running back or whoever's running the ball is able to get low and lead with their head. So I don't know if you take that away from the offensive player caller, you might as well just give them all flags at this point, because you're not going to be able to hit anybody. You're not going to be able to tackle anybody.
The quarterbacks have them.
I was going to say, you can't even breathe on the quarterback.
Yeah, quarterbacks have flags right now.
Yeah, but just give them a mesh red jersey, and like they do in practice, and that's it.
Oh man, it's just I get, like I said, the game has changed, it's transforming, but some of what it's transforming into, get them flags, or else they're all going to be in ice bins, I guess.
Yeah, that's all we can do right now. All right, Colin, what do you have anything else for the ice list?
Yeah, I just not a really icy one, but I do have one more to hit on as far as the Rockies to stay on baseball right now. You know, I don't know how a team so bad could have a National League Player of the Month for 1 month. You know, on pace to lose 100 games again. They're getting close. I believe they have 4 more losses to go in 7 games. So we'll see what happens with the Rockies. But back-to-back 100-loss seasons looks like it's on the table, and it's just, you know, we started with baseball on ice. We'll end with baseball on ice. I don't get it, man. That's part of why I know you said you won't go to Coors Field, but part of why I started to do my baseball tour and visit the Rockies in other cities, just because I don't want to spend money to watch them here, and it sucks. It sucks because there is some talent, but they're just mismanaged.
Yeah, when Bud Black becomes the all-time winningest manager, and I don't even know if that's an accomplishment at this point.
What, he's got more than Walt Weiss, you mean?
Yeah, more than Walt Weiss, more than Jim Tracy,
Don Baylor, the
Don
OG.
Baylor. I think he just beat out Clint Hurdle, to be honest with you. So
yeah, Hurdle was second.
Alrighty, let's move on to our fire list, Colin, and change of tune. We'll get into some more positive things here. But last night, if you missed it, pretty fun game to watch between CU and Baylor, Colin. But this was another Hail Mary. I don't know if you said your Hail Marys, but Shedeur throws a bomb downfield as time expired. He's rolling out as the clock hits 0, and he finds a man in the end zone. What's ironic and what's cool about this, Colin, nearly 30 years after the miracle in Michigan, when Cardell Stewart bombed a Hail Mary downfield to win a game for CU. That happened on September 24th. So they're only 3 days away from the exact date. 30 years ago, September 24th, 1994 is when Cordell did it. But kind of cool that fast forward 30 years and the CU Buffs do it once again. What does this do? Because, kind of the title of our episode today, Colin, Fool Me Once. We kind of saw CU once again fool us last year. They fooled us 3 times last year, and we all fell for it. We all were drinking the gold and black juice. But this season, we were kind of coming into this season with those lowered expectations because, once again, are they going to cry wolf again? Are they going to fool us again? How is it looking so far this season? I guess compared to last season, or what are you seeing so far through 3 weeks of CU season?
Well, what I'm seeing also with the fooled me once is Baylor got fooled once, and then they got fooled twice because that play before should have been a touchdown also. For the CU season, it's really tough to tell which team is going to be there because the way they laid an egg against Nebraska, and I don't care what anyone says, that the second half improvements, whatever. Nebraska beat them through and through. So they're not a physical team. And when they go up against some of these physical Big 12 teams, that's what I'm worried about. If they can play some of their finesse type style games, I think they'll be okay. I don't believe the running game is. I mean, yeah, there were 2 rushing touchdowns in this game, or 2. The running back, Malachi, I believe is his name. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. I don't think that is fixed at all because when you go up against some of these tougher, bigger opponents, more mauling type of offensive or defensive linemen or lines, the Buffs are going to be in trouble. It took until the second half for the Baylor Bears to figure out the offensive line and really sack Shedeur. He got sacked once in the first half, and then they piled up 5 of them in the second half. So there are still these issues for the Buffs. And I was one of those big proponents of, hey, that line for them starting off is too high for their wins. I believe they did improve, but they're also going to an improved conference with some more, with teams that are just more difficult to play against. When you play a style like the Buffs have, this is almost like the old run and gun D'Antoni Phoenix Suns playing the run and gun, then all of a sudden hitting the playoffs and they can't do anything. The run and gun CU Buffs with the high powered offense, they're going to face some guys who just are bigger, stronger, faster than them and beat the crap out of them.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know where their season goes from here. Obviously a big confidence booster when you tie a game as time expires and then you win. It's just starting off 3-0 last year. Everyone was kind of like, oh, this could be a championship type of team, and then they just totally took a crap and the season just went downhill super fast, super quick. It was just all bad, and obviously Dion and everybody. I don't know. I guess you call it cocky arrogance, Colin. Just kind of the way they compose themselves. With Shador flashing the watch, just the way that Dion carries himself. Everyone, if you look at multiple social media accounts that follow, sports and stuff like that, everyone's saying just everyone's sick of Colorado, the way they carry themselves when they're really not a good team. So I'm going to be interested to see where they go from here. Obviously, their schedule last year wasn't in favor of them really even being ranked at all last season. I think they cracked the top 25 after their third week last season, and then they were never going to touch those rankings again. So I don't know if they can get back to this season with a loss already. It's going to be hard to do that again. So we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, they were in the top 25 when they went up to play Oregon, and then Oregon just stomped them.
They're like, yeah, here's your 25.
Yeah, and when the one thing you brought up was the, Cordell Stewart, Michigan. I still remember watching that game. I was actually at the Stefani's house. I think they were taking care of me while my mom was working, because obviously I was a kid at that point in time. But they were taking care of me. We were watching that game. I was like, oh, this is over. And then the Hail Mary, and that, that really spurred that team on, because that was the year they won the championship, right? I believe they were co-national champions that year. And maybe this does something for the Buffs. They did make a few good defensive plays, especially the second half in this game. I don't know what it is about that second half, because I had bet the under twice in this game, and I bet it before the game thinking about all the rain that was going to happen, which was at 51 and a half. And I thought that was actually going to hold up for a while, because the second half, nothing was going on. And I was like, okay, I got a shot at this. I got a shot at a field goal and a win. And then all of a sudden these back-to-back touchdowns happen. So I lost it at 51 and 60 and a half, but that's okay, because the Buffs won. But you hope that maybe this does spur this Buffs team on to maybe some more success, and does give them enough confidence to know that they can hang with these teams, but it scares them enough to know they can't just walk into any stadium and beat anybody, because Baylor is definitely not the cream of the crop in this conference. So you're going to have to play better than that to beat, the Texases, all the other big name players in this conference, the Oklahomas. It's going to take more than just strolling in there and your natural talent and God-given ability to win these games. So maybe that gives them a little bit of motivation. We'll see how they respond to it. Instead of, hopefully it's just not we won this game like we should have. Of course we did.
Yeah. Let me bring this question up to you, because this has been posed in the past. When you talk about CU and Travis Hunter, a lot of people are already screaming for him to win the Heisman Trophy this year. Against Baylor yesterday, Colin, he had 130 receiving yards and also a forced fumble. As we both know, he's a two-way player in college. Forced fumble, mind you, on the game-ending play. And, he's had a terrific 3 weeks already playing both sides of the ball. Can he – and you've already heard pro guys say there's a different beast, obviously, when you come to the NFL. But can he be the exception? Can he play both? I know probably whoever drafts him or whoever takes a chance on him is probably not going to let him play both sides of the football. But do you think he can, at the pro level, play both sides?
Can he? Definitely. I think he definitely can. I think his ability, you see it game in, game out. What he does on the field on both sides. He is the best player, or one of the best players on both sides of the ball, no matter who they're playing against. And he will lock down the other team's wide receivers. He will go in there and, put his head in the middle and cause a fumble on the goal line to secure the win for the Buffs. Like, he is one of those guys that can do it all. Even he had a great reception, a one-handed reception in the game, almost had a one-handed reception. That one got called back because it ended up hitting the ground. I got the hiccups all of a sudden. It ended up hitting the ground, I want to say. But he's so talented. He's so fast. He's so good. So can he play on both sides of the ball in the NFL? Yeah, of course he can. But he's not going to. At least not full time. He will be gadget-like, much like Dion was, or even a Devin Hester. Cordell Patterson, I think, is kind of like Cordell didn't play really defense, but he was a special teams guy and a guy here on offense here and there. But yeah, there aren't a lot of defensive, offensive type of guys. Champ did it a few times. Even Champ said, hey, it's too tough to do it in the NFL. I don't know if you heard those comments. But Champ was like, you got to choose one, and then it's much easier to be a defensive back and to go in for special gadget plays on the offensive side than it is to be an offensive player going in and playing defense and learning the defensive schemes and where you're supposed to be on those, which I guess does make some sense, because if you only have to learn a few plays, you're probably better off in that aspect, learning a few key plays to run during the game rather than the offense. But can he? Yeah, if a team will give him a shot, I have no doubt that he'll have, 5 years of success playing both sides, but I don't think it'll be long sustained success in the NFL if he does play.
Yeah, like you said, you probably see him on a special gadget play on offense here and there. If teams were to, draft him and take a look at him on both sides of the ball. What side of the ball do you think he would choose? Like, primarily, what do you think he's not necessarily better at, but what do you think he'll succeed at more in the pro game?
Well, I mean, I think whatever he chooses, he'll be successful at. But I think if he's listening to the guys who have done it before him, he'll play defensive back. I think that's what he'll choose, because all the players before him have told him exactly that. That's what Prime's position was too, who was, like a father to him in a lot of ways, their family. And so when you think about the guys that he's been raised around, what all the players who have talked about it have said, you have to assume that he is going to play cornerback unless he's going for the bag. If he's going for the bag, he's going to say he's a wide receiver, because these guys are getting paid now and they're getting paid early.
Yeah. So we will see what Travis Hunter decides to do here whenever that time comes.
What do you feel like he's doing?
I think, like you said, I think he might go for the bag on offense and then just say and then just play defense. I mean, he could and then trick everybody.
Yeah, play a few years wide receiver. Oh, hey, I'm going. I see our DB room needs a little help. Let me go over there and do that after you're paying me
like I said,
$5 million a year.
Like I said, I think he'll be thrown into some gadget plays, like you said, also on offense. But yeah, I think he's primarily going to pick defense, and probably he's going to want to do both. But maybe when he gets to the NFL, he's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to take these guys' advice and just choose one side of the ball. All right, what do you got next on the fire list, Colin?
I mean, the fire list, guys, is pretty easy with this one, because Shohei Ohtani, who's probably been on this fire list all year long, he continues to rake after his 10 RBI game, and he matches 50-50. Now he's 52-52 after playing the Rockies. Shohei Ohtani, what's up, Clayton, my man? Shohei Ohtani, he is the most on fire guy I've ever seen. And, going from a guy talking about Travis Hunter playing on both sides of the ball to a guy who can pitch and hit and do everything in the Major League Baseball game, Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player that we've ever seen. And he, and I'm saying me and you because we were never around during the Ruth days, and he is doing Ruthian things, and they are going to be called Ohtani things after his career is over, because this guy, he is just unbelievable. And to think that someone said that he wouldn't be able to hit Major League Baseball pitching when he came in as a prospect, that was a terrible take, because home dude is raking. And I am happy because I think Judge hit a home run last night, but he's one home run behind Judge if Judge did hit one for the Major League lead in home runs. And I had a few pennies on him to win the home run title this year. So, even if he doesn't go back to pitching at any point, what he's shown you this year just as a DH and playing the field, he's proven that he's worth every penny of that contract up until this point that the Yankees could afford. Or that the Dodgers could afford, Yankees.
By the way, did you see Shohei's game against the Marlins the other day?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. 10 RBIs.
Yeah, 6 for 6, 10 RBIs. It's just crazy. Crazy what he's doing.
Yeah, and he is a showstopper. I mean, when you talk about that game against the Marlins, there's a sign right behind him in one of the pictures where it's like, I missed school so I could watch Shohei Ohtani play baseball and make history. Something to that effect. These are things that we talk about that in Miami. When I went to a game earlier this year, let me tell you, I think it was $9 or $10 for a front row seat in left field. Like, I was right there, and it cost me nothing. And granted, they were playing the Rockies. Dodgers have a little bit more pull, but the Marlins Stadium was empty. They didn't have a lot of fans. They've been out of contention for a while, but he is there packing stands, and they're firing up the ticket machines. He's firing bombs into the fans. There's just he is a one-man show, and he is worth watching. And it really makes you wonder how the Angels could not put anything together with him and Mike Trout. It's kind of hard to fathom that you would have a guy that good on your team and your team could be so bad. He's must watch baseball. He really is anytime he comes to the plate.
So you were wondering, Shohei now with 52 home runs, 122 RBIs, and then sprinkle in 53 stolen bases. Aaron Judge, by the way, did hit a home run, but he's got now 54 home runs.
Okay.
And 137 RBIs. But Aaron Judge is also batting .321. If he's not a unanimous AL MVP, I don't know what these dudes are doing. And if Shohei's not the unanimous NL MVP, I don't know what these dudes are doing. And Shohei is just three ticks shy of 300. Colin, he's batting .297. So,
it's
for what you will. But what's crazy to me is this is Shohei's his fifth year? Is his fifth year?
1, 2, 3, 4 in. I think it's his fifth year because he had 4 in Los Angeles. Because he came in right before COVID. So this is year 5, yeah.
Yeah. So, he's 30 years old, but in only almost full 5 seasons, Colin, he's almost at 300 home runs already. He's got 223. Jeez. That's crazy. Some guys don't hit 300 in a 10-year career.
It is unbelievable. And yeah, like you said, they should both be unanimous. And when you talk about their batting averages, the national one of the reasons why, and I'm not giving an excuse to Judge, one of the reasons why Shohei's batting average is not as great as it could be is because of where he is playing and some of the guys he's going up against week in, week out. I mean, you have Cy Young candidates in the West that he has to face, and some damn good pitching. Whereas in the East this year, the pitching has been down for sure for the Yankees opponents. And I'm not trying to say Judge and his batting average are a fluke, because he just crushes. But Shohei has done this against the best pitching division in Major League Baseball this year, especially with the injuries that happened out in the East with like Spencer Strider and the Braves. I'm gonna sneeze. Hey.
Yeah, the Yankees, by the way, shut out the Oakland A's 10-0. Speaking of the Oakland A's, shout out to them. They played. This will be their final home stand in Oakland after, God, 60, 70 years of probably more than that playing in Oakland. I saw the stats of all the accolades they've racked up during their time in Oakland. 4 World Series titles is the one that comes to mind. So numerous Hall of Famers, stuff like that. Countless division titles. They'll be play. That's the game. That'll be the stadium to go to next season, Colin. Is when the Oaklands are playing in like a little Sacramento junior college stadium.
Yep.
I don't know if they'll fill it, but that'll be a rare one to go to. I'm gonna try to do that.
So they're playing there for 2 seasons, is what it looks like. But the Rockies will not be playing there next year, but in 2 years they will have the game because the Rockies played them this year in Oakland. So I went out there and I feel terrible for the A's fans and those ones that are there. I might have said it on your show before, but right field Will, who was named by Bob Cousy, he got that nickname. He's one of the famous fans out there. Really good guy, great guy. Loves his baseball and loves loves going to games out there. He goes to every game. He used to go on road trips to all the games with a bunch of people, but all the fans in right field that are like family out there, they're losing their team and they're losing a big sense of, who they are and what brought them all together over all these years. And sitting out there with those guys, it made me realize how lucky we are to have the Rockies and how easy it can be taken away because the Rockies have won nothing. The Rockies have won nothing. All they won is one of the most beautiful stadiums and sunsets in Major League Baseball. And if they continue to lose, this team could be gone as well. Bad ownership, it doesn't matter what happens with your team. Bad ownership, you'll lose your team.
Exactly. So, yeah, good luck to the Oakland fans making the trek up to Sacramento if they do. And then in a couple of years, do they make the trek to Las Vegas, which will be interesting to see how baseball is received in Vegas. So it's only a matter of time before a basketball team's in Vegas. Kind of a side note, I don't know if you saw this. It was kind of cool that the Oklahoma City Thunder said they would obviously give back the franchise's accolades if Seattle were to get another basketball team. So obviously,
that's cool.
Yeah, obviously the Thunder moved from Seattle. It's still weird, like seeing Kevin Durant Seattle Supersonic jerseys. He was drafted by the Sonics. Obviously, played a number of years with Oklahoma City, but they used to be the defunct Seattle Supersonics. So if Seattle gets another team back, we will see the Oklahoma City grant them. I don't know if it's really is Oklahoma City doing it. I don't know who's doing it, but they will give because I think Seattle has one NBA championship, so they'll probably. It is weird if you look at the arena in Oklahoma City. They have like a just random Seattle Supersonic pennants hanging up, including I think it was like 1972s when they won the championship.
Okay.
And it's just hanging up in Oklahoma City, all awkward. So I think they'll ship those back to Seattle if they ever get a team back.
Hey, that's a good move on them. In all honesty, that's something that I guess you don't really see a lot of because it usually does travel with the teams. But good move on the Thunder for doing that if it does come to fruition.
Yeah, if it does. All right, on capping off my fire list here, Colin, the WNBA Playoffs kickoff today. Obviously, repping my girl Cece today. Repping. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm excited for these playoffs, Colin. And earlier this morning, Asia Wilson, by the way, named unanimous. Speaking of unanimous, MVP from the Las Vegas Aces. She just put together a crazy season this year, averaging just about 27 points per game, almost 12 points per game, 11.9 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, almost 2 steals a game, and almost 3 blocks per game. She's the only second player, Colin, in W history to win unanimous MVP since 1997. So it's been a while. This is her 3rd MVP, and it was she just put together a crazy season. How about Caitlin Clark, by the way, came in 4th in MVP voting?
I was gonna say, this might be her third MVP, but Asia, get ready to move over because I have a feeling that this is going to be dominated by Caitlin Clark coming up for many many seasons to come. It might be one of those Jordan type of runs for Caitlin Clark where the only reason she doesn't win is just because of voter fatigue. Um, she definitely deserves it. Don't get me. I'm not saying that she doesn't. Asia Wilson does not deserve the MVP. She does. She had a hell of a season, and I just the eyes that are on the WNBA now. It's nice to have them at least be talked about because it was always a second thought, no matter what city they were in. And even having them involved in the NBA All-Star game with the 3-point shot, the 3-point shootout and the festivities. I know they had played in the celebrity game and everything beforehand, but they've gotten a lot more views this year. And so I'm grateful that they're having that opportunity. And I'm grateful that they're selling tickets to games because I don't want to see a sports league go defunct, especially when these are professional athletes and you're talking about if it doesn't happen here, they've got to move across the country or across the world to play in other leagues in other countries. So yeah, I'm glad that things are working for the W and that it's happening, but I can almost go back to the icy takes is that some of these ladies got to stop icing out Caitlin Clark and treating her like crap. All right.
Especially Cheryl Swoops. I don't know what her problem is, but let's get her on the show next week and we'll talk to her. By the way,
I'll send out an email.
Yeah, we'll have the team do it. By the way, once again, the first round is a best of. I think it's only a best of 3, Colin, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So the first round kicks off today. Early game, the Atlanta Dream, who I think it's so funny that Chicago did not even make the playoffs after all the jargon they were yapping. But we'll get into that here in a second. Atlanta takes on the New York Liberty. New York Liberty, obviously the number 1 seed in the entire league. And then, of course, the game everyone has circled, 1:00 Mountain Time, Colin. The Indiana Fever will play the Connecticut Sun. Connecticut, the 2nd seed in the WNBA playoffs. And then you have Phoenix and Minnesota. Minnesota went 30-10 this season, one of their best records, one of their best seasons of all time. And then capping it off for the nightcap is the aforementioned Seattle team, the Seattle Storm, and against Asia Wilson's team, the Las Vegas Aces. So that it's a good 4 games today to kick off the WNBA playoffs.
Yeah, it's too bad they're going up against the NFL because these would definitely be games that I would at least have on and watch a little bit more if the NFL wasn't on. The one thing a few things I can say from this is obviously the Aces had a little bit of a down year, but you still got to assume that they are the favorites to win it all. They've been there before, they've done it. I'm not cheering for Minnesota at all. Not just because of the Nuggets history, but because of how her coach basically blacklisted Caitlin Clark before they even had a chance with Team USA. So Minnesota, you're out on my list. New York is like a 20-point favorite in this game, and Connecticut is a double-digit favorite, or they were last time I looked, over a double-digit favorite over Indiana and Caitlin Clark. And so what I'm sitting here wondering, besides, like I said, the Aces matchup in Seattle, is I just hope Minnesota loses. I think New York is going to romp, but will Indiana put up a fight against Connecticut in this series? Because, like I said, their opening is double-digit underdogs, double-digit point underdogs. So that's the line. So I hope that Caitlin Clark can make a run and really, put her name in that conversation where it belongs and some more eyes get on her.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're wondering, Cynthia Cooper was the unanimous MVP winner back in 1997. Indiana played Connecticut pretty tough this season. So we'll see. Obviously, Connecticut, a very good team, 2nd seed overall when it comes to the rankings. But like you said, you hate to see a league go defunct. They're almost on the opposite end of that spectrum, Colin. They just added 3 expansion cities in the last 8 months. So Portland being the latest. Again, I don't know if you were on here when I said I hope Denver gets a WNBA
I
team.
was.
Colin, again, I would be in line for season tickets because and then the Bay Area was awarded an expansion team, and then Toronto was awarded an expansion team earlier this season. So 3 expansion teams coming in the next couple of years. And I was looking at I don't know if you remember, I was looking at the Bay Area team. I don't know. One of the teams has a name already, and I forget which one. But I was looking at season tickets already for like the Bay Area, and it was only like $150 deposit. So I compared that with the Denver Nuggets. It's like a $50,000 deposit, and then you're like on a 6 to 10 year waiting list if you were to compare leagues. So I'll say this: if your team gets an expansion team, line up for season tickets. Washington, the Mystics, they just had the highest attendance in WNBA history, the final game of the season against Indiana, to see Caitlin Clark. Unfortunately, Caitlin Clark basically didn't play the entire second half because it was the last game before the playoffs. You don't want, obviously your star players to get hurt, but I could see how fans would be frustrated. You paid to go see Caitlin Clark. Indiana came up 1 point short, as both teams basically had all the subs in. But I mean, where the Aces play, Colin, they have their own arena in Vegas, but they had to move to T-Mobile Arena where like the Golden Knights play and stuff like that, just because Indiana was coming to town, and the ticket demand has been crazy this season.
Yeah, it's phenomenal to see. It really is. I mean, I'm glad that. I'm happy to see it taking off and them getting some recognition with it, because it is. I mean, it's just like any other sport. Yeah, some of the games are bad, crappy games like that. That's going to happen. Some teams aren't good, but there are really good teams and there's really good talent, and it's good basketball being played for the most part.
Turn it off mute here. Yeah, so we will see what happens today, as today is the first round, kicking off the first round of the WNBA playoffs. All right, Colin, anything to add to the fire list?
No, I don't think I mean, the only I think fire list. No, I don't have any other fire stuff, man. I think we're set.
All right, what before we get out of here, what NFL matchups, games you looking forward to today? How's your fantasy team looking? What you got?
Well, I'm going to be watching a decent amount of football because, like I said, my baseball has been canceled. So, the games that I am watching, I'm obviously going to have the Broncos on. I'm interested to see how the first game of this road trip goes for the Broncos. I'm nervous. I'm nervous because the Buccaneers are definitely a better team. But this is one of those games where the Broncos, it's kind of setting up like the Broncos have an opportunity to win it, because Rashard White, the running back, is a little dinged up for the Tampa Bay Bucks. You look at what Patrick Surtain has been doing against wide receivers. I mean, not just this year, but the past seasons. Can he shut down Mike Evans? And does that mean that the Broncos are able to contain Chris Godwin? And on the defensive side, the Broncos are a little nicked up. Obviously, Baron Browning is out. But Baker Mayfield, who's had a good history of success against the Broncos, does he continue that, or can the Broncos get to him and really mess with his head? I think the Broncos have a chance to win this game. I'm not picking them to win this. Let me be fully upfront with that. But I think if the Broncos do have an opportunity to win a game on this road trip, whether it be here or the Jets, I think it would be this game, just because of how beat up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are right now. Do I think they're going to win? No, not at all. The other games that I'm watching, Eagles Saints, that should be a great game. Saints scoring 90 points, Sean Payton's former team, should be a great one out there in New Orleans. And I'm very interested to see what happens in the Ravens-Cowboys game. Are the Ravens, who are 0-2, going to bounce back? Do they have it in them to pull out a victory in Dallas in what should be a high-scoring game? There are some other games on the docket, but yeah, I'm interested in those, 3 games really, and a little sprinkle of Lions Cardinals. We'll throw that in there.
Yeah, and there's 8 2-0 teams left in the league, and crazy because 2 sets of them are playing each other. Houston will go up against Minnesota. The Chargers will go up against Pittsburgh, and as you mentioned, New Orleans 2-0 going up against the Eagles, and of course the Chiefs 2-0 hosting the Falcons. And then the Tampa Bay obviously is 2-0 going up against the Broncos. Which will be the first team to go 2-1 this season, Colin?
Oh. First team to go. Well, I think it's got to be the Chargers against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, especially because the Chargers might not have Justin Herbert, like I said. I can't believe the Steelers might start the season 3-0. That defense is just legit. And it's tough to choose between the Texans and Vikings. I don't know which team's going to win that game. I've had Texans all year long, but man, the Vikings look good.
Yeah, and they, like we mentioned before, they just took down, I don't know if they're the vaunted 49ers anymore, but they went in and beat them. I'm leaning more towards Houston in this game just because, I don't know, CJ Stroud is just playing out of his mind. I think Sam Darnold's luck will run out at some point. We've seen it before, dating back to his days with the New York Jets. So well, how about this? Who do you think the first team is going to go 3-0? Tampa?
Yeah, Tampa. I guess that one's kind of there. Tampa. I think if I were to pick the 3-0 teams, it would be Tampa and the Seahawks are for sure, because Seahawks are playing the Dolphins in Seattle, and the Dolphins, I know they still have some weapons, but man, we saw what happened when they had a backup quarterback 2 years ago. It was not as good, obviously, without Tua in there. And they're going up to Seattle. That's a long trip to make for an L.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention Seattle 2-0 also. On the other side of the spectrum there, Colin, there's 8 0-2 teams. Obviously, Denver 0-2, the Giants 0-2, the Colts 0-2, the Rams 0-2, Baltimore 0-2, Carolina 0-2. And the Jaguars 0-2, which is what will be the first team to get their first win of the season. I like how you brought up Dallas versus Baltimore. Is Baltimore, are they playing with us at 0-2, or do you believe they're a 0-2 team to begin the season? I know the ball hasn't really bounced their way. They came up short. They were almost a play away from winning one of those games, but what's the first team to get their first win of the season?
My gut is kind of telling me that it should be the Titans playing the Packers.
Excuse me, Bengals also 0-2.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're playing on Monday, so they're not going to be the first one. No. There's a part of me that wants to say the Titans beat the Packers, but then there's the Malik Willis starting back in Tennessee, getting another chance to go back to where he was drafted. Prove him wrong. Tennessee's offense, Will Levis has Mayo in too many places where he's losing the ball. Yeah, I think it is the Ravens, because the Cowboys just got demolished last week. Maybe they were overlooking the Saints, but the Cowboys don't look good. And I think the Ravens, what's happening with the Ravens is they lost their defensive coordinator this last season. He's now the coach, McDonald, in Seattle. So old McDonald's defense in Baltimore is gone, and they had to figure out a new identity. And I think that they started to get it together a little bit last week, but I think they were also kind of planning ahead towards this trip to Dallas to ruin a home game for the Cowboys. This is one of those that Harbaugh, it's more of a trust in Harbaugh than what I've seen from the team. I think that the Ravens get the Cowboys in this game.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at the Rams as well, going into a beat-up San Francisco team. Rams are at home. They've been on the short end of the stick, obviously, the last 2 weeks, but very close in those games. But I don't know how much Matt Stafford has left. Obviously, you're without Puka and without Cooper Kupp. I mean, those that's 90% of your offense right there between those two guys. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but the way San Francisco's beat up, I think the Rams do have a chance in this game. San Francisco's defense is still kind of there. So I kind of can see the Rams escaping with a win against a beat up 49ers team. Obviously, when you look at Carolina, do they have a breath of fresh air with the red rifle coming in to start? Is that something we're looking at? Are we seeing the red rifle against the stash in Vegas?
The Red Rifle resurgence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I actually in my fantasy league, in a few of them, I picked up Deontay Johnson, their wide receiver in Carolina, because he wasn't doing anything with Bryce Young, but Andy Dalton is we don't know what he's going to look like right now. Let's be upfront with that. But it can't look much worse than Bryce Young. So I picked him back up because everyone dropped him because that offense was doing nothing. So Carolina, against the Raiders, this would be a total Raider thing to do, would be drop a game against the worst team in the league.
Yeah, my other team of interest, Colin, I can see the Colts beating the Bears.
Yeah.
Colts 0-2. Bears offense just isn't there yet. I mean, I know Caleb Williams came in with these high expectations. You bring in Roma Duze, who's hurt. Keenan Allen's now banged up. So really, I don't know. Really, all he has on offense is DJ Moore. His offensive line is just not clicking. He's already, I think he's the most sacked quarterback already through 2 weeks of the season. So he's just getting beat up right now. I don't know. It's a mixture of offensive line holding the ball too long, waiting for somebody to get open, stuff like that. He can make plays with his feet, and I don't know if he's just told being not to, just because of the guy on Indianapolis who got hurt last year, and Anthony Richardson. We've seen Lamar Jackson get banged up. These running quarterbacks are going to get banged up. Kyler Murray, those guys. So, but I can see the Colts winning this game against the Bears too.
See, I was almost going to say which rookie quarterback gets their first win, but I forgot that the Commanders played the Giants last week and got 7 field goals to win that game. But yeah, the first touchdown, excuse me, because the Bears did win their first game. But another ice cold thing is rookie quarterbacks throwing touchdowns.
Yeah, and it took Bo Nix a second week to get that slotted in there. What's up with the Jaguars? Is this where we thought they would be coming in to this season? Starting the season 0-2. A lot of hype on Trevor Lawrence, him getting an extension, stuff like that. Is this what we were going to see from them?
I'm not sure what's going on in Jacksonville. I thought there was going to be almost a Josh Allen type of leap in his third year. I kind of give him a wash for that first year, but I thought that there was going to be more of a jump from where he was last year, and I just haven't seen it yet. And they are down some players on offense. I know Evan Ingram is out today for them, so that hurts. But I don't know. I don't know if Lawrence is ever going to get it put together. Maybe Urban Meyer really screwed him up that badly. I'm not putting it past him, because sometimes all it takes is one bad coach to really mess a guy up, and that I think that could have happened with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, because the next year I think they had an 8-8 record or something like that, and they won a playoff game against the Chargers.
Yeah,
and they got demolished the next round, but. Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised when I saw Jacksonville 0-2. I'm just, the Jaguars 0-2 sitting down there in the dirty South. I don't know what's going on there, but it's a long season. They still got 15 games to figure it out. But we always say the NFL is different from obviously these other leagues. Baseball, you play 162 games. NHL, NBA, you're playing 82 games. Football, you start the season 0-2, 0-3. They're adding games to the season. Now there's 17 games, but it's still you start 0-3, Colin, that's still kind of a big hole to dig yourself out of.
It is. It is. I kind of called for the Broncos. Hopefully the Broncos can just keep losing a bunch of these games and get Travis Hunter, and then in 2026, hello Arch Manning.
Yeah, crazy how that flipped down in Texas, by the way.
Yeah.
They're saying the dude who got hurt, they're like, well, his job is gone, because we've already seen glimpses of Arch Manning in Texas, Colin, with his arm and his feet. It's going to be hard for dude to get his job back.
Yep.
They say you don't lose your job because
he should have gone into his draft. He should have gone into the draft last year.
Yeah, they say you don't lose your job because of injuries, Colin. That is 100% false. You do.
Yeah, especially when the next guy's better.
Yeah, not only better, but I mean, these guys who are waiting in the wings are just they're just foaming at the mouth to get a chance, and then they just run away with it. So 100% false statement. So if you hear that, if you're a kid or whoever's playing sports and you say you don't lose your job because of injury, 100% false.
Yeah, watch out, Mike. I've been waiting in the wings for a while, and I'm here now.
Yeah. See, can't lose your job due to injury. But that is going to do it for us today. Enjoy the slate of NFL games. Enjoy the slate of WNBA games. I know I'll have multiple screens going, Colin, today. With throwing down, like you were saying, throwing down bets and stuff like that. So, what are some interesting bets you threw on today?
Demarcus Robinson receiving yards. That one I think is an easy money. You mentioned Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua being out. Give me that. Give me Saquon Barkley touchdown. I have a few different things out there. I have a touchdown and field goal in each half for the Lions and Cardinals game. I also have a touchdown field goal in each half in I believe I have one other high scoring game. I was just on it. Let's see. Ravens Cowboys, touchdown field goal each half for both teams there. Should be a good slate of stuff. And I also have a no touchdown bet in the Bears game. Bears Colts. No touchdown.
No touchdown.
But that's a $5 bet for like
that's a possibility though.
Yeah.
With those two teams, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so forgot to mention this at the top of the show. Make sure you go and like and follow and subscribe to all the social medias on Facebook, on Twitter, and go and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, to the Spotify channel as well, so you can get all of the content when they first happen. And, of course, go to our home base, e5280sports.com. New articles every week. Rashad does a good job of getting those articles up, recapping and previewing the previous week in NFL and college football, and then looking forward to the next week in both of those sports as well. Colin, thanks so much for hopping on this morning.
My pleasure, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, sucks for your baseball game though.
It does, but that's all right.
All right. Once again, this and a lot of our pods are brought to you by Pikes Peak Sports Card. They just did a big sports card show down in Colorado Springs. So if you went to that, I'm sure that was fun. They put on multiple events, so go check them out. If you're in the Denver area, if you're in the Springs area, go down to their card shop and check them out. But that's going to do it for us here on Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle. Once again, go to all the socials, go to e5280sports.com and check us out. But that's going to do it for us. Until next week.
Bye, everybody.